me through how to build a $10,000 a month group coaching business in 7 simple steps.
$10,000 a month, group coaching 90 minutes per week is the first meaningful milestone. And once you do that, for most of us, that can fund your lifestyle from a really short amount of time.
Why don't you give us some results that either you've had or clients that you've worked with?
Our good friend Dustin Reikman is one of those who does over $1 million a year from group coaching and masterminds, is just following this playbook. The crazy thing is, it's the exact opposite. The group coaching program is the product that requires the least amount of customers to be financially successful. Every other product takes hundreds or thousands of customers for it to make sense. Limit your very first group to just 5 clients paying you $2,000, because then what happens is once you are a sold out coach with a sold out group coaching program.
All right, John, I want you to walk me through how to build a $10,000 a month group coaching business in, I think you said 7 simple steps. So if that's accurate, let's get into it. So first off, let me know, where did this all come from? I know you've been at this a long time. Kind of give us like how you came up with it and how it's evolved, but then also what are the steps that you've kind of distilled it down to?
Yeah, so I came the long way around because I started by selling online courses and teaching people how to sell online courses back over 10 years ago. So 2013, 2014, 2015. And then from there, I kind of graduated, I guess, from courses into recurring revenue membership sites. And so from 2017 through 2020, that was my focus, launching 6 and 7 figure membership sites. I guess even through 2021, that was still what I was doing. I, for a long time, worked with a guy named Michael Hyatt, a lot of people know, and I ran his Platform University membership, which is a multi-million-dollar membership site. So I got to learn about like selling online courses, selling memberships. Along the way, I got to learn about selling books. And then I always heard of masterminds or group coaching programs, but I really just didn't know much about it. I got to participate in a couple and I got curious. And so then I started studying them and I really just honestly fell in love. And so so group coaching programs, it was like sort of like in the long way around to then learning how to create and sell group coaching programs, specifically, starting with mastermind groups, but then going into accelerator style group coaching programs where it's like 60 or 90 days in a small group. And what I found is that it's honestly the best way when you're building an online education business or an authority business to get paid well for doing meaningful work. And so it became my core focus. And for the last 5 years, that's what I've done, is help people create and sell group coaching programs, honestly, at the core of their business. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it. But it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of coming at it the long way to learn what now seems simple in hindsight.
Yeah. So, okay, why don't you give us some results that either you've had or clients that you've worked with, so we really know like what's actually possible. I know we said 10,000 a month, but I know there's some that have had more than $10,000 a month. So
yes.
Why don't you give us a little bit of like what is possible?
Yeah, I do find that $10,000 a month, group coaching 90 minutes per week is the first meaningful milestone. And once you do that, for most of us, that can fund your lifestyle from a really short amount of time. And it allows you to buy back your time from other commitments so you can grow the business further. So that's why I really focus on that first milestone of $10,000 per month, group coaching 90 minutes per week. But to your point, then, I've had clients who've earned $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a month, up to $100,000 a month. Our good friend Dustin Reikman is one of those who does over $1 million a year from group coaching and masterminds, is just following this playbook. And so, there's a lot of people in that range of like anywhere from $100,000 a year to $1 million a year. That's honestly most of the people that I work with. But when you start building an authority business, like if you have some sort of experience from your background that you're bringing into the online space, you've only got a handful of options in terms of how you're going to monetize. Like, is it going to be one-on-one coaching or consulting? Is it going to be you're going to sell an online course? Is it going to be affiliate income or AdSense? Is it going to be memberships or masterminds? You don't actually have a ton of options there. And when you're just getting started out, most people, if they know about premium programs like a group coaching program, they're thinking that's like one day when I'm like super established. But the crazy thing is, and I did the exact same thing, is it's the exact opposite. The group coaching program is the product that requires the least amount of customers to be financially successful. Every other product takes hundreds or thousands of customers for it to make sense. But when you're just starting your authority business, your online business, then you have currently the smallest audience you will ever have. So why would you start with the product that requires the largest audience possible, right? That's what most people do. So I kind of flip it on its head and help people create sold out group coaching programs and then scale other products on top of that.
Hey, John, let's call a quick little timeout here. I know that you have a resource that would be really helpful for people? And I don't want to forget about this.
If you go to soldoutquiz.com, answer 5 questions. It'll take you 60 seconds or 1 minute. And you get an instant score from me on how ready your business is to have a sold out group coaching program. And if you're missing anything of what it would take to earn $10,000 per month, group coaching 90 minutes per week, you'll get that instruction right there. And you get a personalized action plan on that page.
Really, this book is outlining everything that you teach to your clients. Is that correct?
Yeah, I took the entire playbook that we've run for the last 5 years in Sold Out Coach Club, my core program, and put it into the book Sold Out Coach. And so part of this is because by design, my program is meant to be sold out. And that's great from like a lifestyle perspective, from a marketing perspective. The truth is that you only need 5 or 10, maybe 12 clients at a time to make a really meaningful income from a sold out group coaching program. And you get to do it in such a way that it has, honestly, a major life-changing impact on people that go through it. That's not true with any other product option when you're building an authority business online, because the other products, they typically require hundreds or thousands of customers to be financially successful. And unfortunately, courses have like a 5% completion rate. One-on-one coaching, has a very clear limit if you're just selling your time. I love books. I write books. As you mentioned, my new book, Sold Out Coach, is out now. But I also know that everybody who buys the book, a lot of people are just going to put it on the shelf. And so it's just the truth, right? So a group coaching program requires people, because they pay a premium, to pay attention. So for the last 5 years inside of Sold Out Coach Club, I've been coaching people through this process of creating and selling sold out group coaching programs to buy back their time, to allow them to scale an authority business. And that's been an incredible experience. But because my program is sold out by default, right? Like that's the name of the program, but it's also just the reality is that at any given time, there's only a handful of clients that I can work with directly. And so because of that, I felt a moral obligation to take the playbook of what's working and put that into a book so that more people can experience it. So now thousands of people can put the Sold Out Coach playbook into practice, even though I only take a few dozen clients on a year, right? So it allows us to serve a lot more people.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And one thing I want to hit on here real quick before we get into the actual playbook, and that's a question that I think a lot of people are going to be asking themselves, is with the rise of AI, courses are kind of going away. How do you feel this stacks up against courses and AI and all of that that's happening in our industry?
I love that you're asking that question. This is such an important question. It's one I already was in love with group coaching as a product model before AI kind of had its heyday, but now even more so because what happened is AI made it incredibly easy to DIY almost anything, right? So if you want to do it yourself, before you could like watch a bunch of YouTube videos, read some books, but still took some digging to find things. But now if you're committed to a DIY solution, you want to do it yourself, whatever you're trying to solve in your life, you can just pull up Gemini or ChatGPT or God forbid Apple Intelligence or whatever, whichever one, and just ask them like, what do I do? And it's going to give you a plan. Group coaching programs allow you to do that with a trusted guide guiding you along the price. Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, they claim to be the expert on every single topic on the planet. But we all know that advice comes with a disclaimer that, AI it says that on most of these tools. It says, hey, AI may make some stuff up and hallucinate. So be careful, and that's always true with the human guide as well, but usually it's less common. So the group coaching programs are really not about buying information. Really what people are buying is a guided implementation towards transforming something in their lives. I was just talking to a client about this actually, who was saying she was feeling nervous about, she said, hey, your book's coming out and it has your entire playbook, right? Aren't you worried? She's like, I don't want to put my secrets out. I mean, what do I do with this? And I said, well, I think about it like if you're climbing a mountain, right? You go to the bottom of the mountain next to a popular hiking trail, but let's just say it's a relatively dangerous mountain. I mean, actually, let's pick Kilimanjaro. I mean, the warning is in the name of the mountain. It tells you, it says, hey, be careful. This mountain will Kilimanjaro. It warns you right there, right? You got to know people do die there, but anybody can hike up Kilimanjaro. You don't have to have a guide. It's a free climb. It's the tallest freestanding peak on the planet. So what happens is when you get to the bottom of the mountain, you'll see there's all these little maps and pamphlets right there that they're usually in a plastic box, like the free map you can take out. Anybody can take that map out, look at it and follow it. You could do that with anything on the planet. You could do it yourself, but there's risks you're taking. So when you look over at that guy next to you that says, hey, I'll help you carry your pack. I'll help you pick the safer trails. I'll help you get to the top and back. I'll help you plan when to leave to make sure you get back before sundown. Yeah, I'm going to hire the guide, right? And so that's really what you're selling with a group coaching program is you're selling a guided path to achieving an outcome that you could achieve on your own. But it's a lot safer. It's a lot more enjoyable. And you're likely to get further faster if you hire a guide.
I absolutely love that analogy. That might have to turn into a little example that you share quite often, because that's a very good analogy, because you're right. Like, you can go climb that mountain and you can do it pretty dangerous, or you can have the guide that's climbed it 10 times or 100 times or 1,000 times. And you're like, I probably got a better chance of surviving if I go with the guide.
Yeah. And you also got to pick your guide, because I got to tell you, the reason why I'm picking this example of Kilimanjaro is I almost climbed the mountain a couple years ago. I had a friend who's an entrepreneur who invited me on a business retreat. We're going to go on a business mastermind on Kilimanjaro, and he was going to be our guide. And then we did a practice hike on Mount Timpanogos, which is right outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I almost died at the peak because he led us up there into a little shack during a hailstorm where the temperatures dropped to below freezing, and we were all curled up under the one emergency blanket we had and lost feeling in our fingers and toes. And it got to the point where I couldn't feel anything, like just could not feel anything in my limbs. And I need my hands to make money, like among other things. So I literally sprinted down the mountain to get back to above freezing temperatures so I could reclaim my body heat. Because there were other people in our group who were starting to pass out, and it was bad. So I realized he was the wrong guy, because he claimed he would guide us up Mount Kilimanjaro, but Mount Timpanogos was the practice hike. Then I started asking more questions. He lives in Utah near Mount Timpanogos, which is already at, nearly, 5,000 or 6,000 feet above sea level. I lived at sea level, right? So we're starting where I'm already at 5,000 or 6,000 feet up. And what he does is every Saturday, the way he spends his mornings is he does a little jog up and down the mountain. So that's how he spends his Saturdays. So to him, yeah, let's climb Mount Timpanogos. It's no big deal. But to us sea level dwellers over here who haven't been mountain hiking in 10 years, not the right guide. So that maybe there's a lesson in there too. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, you bring up a great point. A great point. Just because you're a guide doesn't mean you're a great guide. So you got to do a little bit of research there. All right, cool. So I think we've teed it up pretty well that we want to get into this masterclass. You're going to basically take us through the playbook. We're going to obviously condense it a little bit, because here we are, we've got a limited amount of time, but I want to extract your knowledge as the guide, and I want you to walk us through your playbook. So where do we start?
Yeah. So we start with, I think step one seems like the right place to start. Does that sound good?
Sure. That sounds right. Yeah.
So step one is to find your bullseye target client. And Scott, I'm curious with this one, whenever I teach this, I find it's helpful to use examples. Is there someone from your community that you'd like for us to use as an example, or do you want to talk about your program as an example, or what do you think would be the best way for us to talk this through?
Yeah, actually, I'm not going to use mine. I'm not going to be selfish. I'm going to actually use someone else, and I think you'll appreciate this one. It's actually one of our clients, Lindsay. I'm going to give her a shout out. She's a relationship coach. Where she helps people in their relationship, whether they're married or whether they're not, but have a better relationship, or one that they might be struggling with, to see if they're going to be able to make it work.
Okay, great. I love that. Thank you. So Lindsay was her name, right? Okay, so so Lindsay, I hope this is useful to you. Without her being in the room, we're going to make some assumptions, but this works. I mean, this will work. It'll be a great example of us to walk through the 7 steps. So to find your bullseye target client is step 1. So this is where, if Lindsay's thinking about the way you just described what she does, there's so many people she can help, right? It's just sort of like, hey, who has a relationship? Okay. At that point, that's most of the planet. So you usually can narrow that down a little bit, right? So sometimes people will narrow that down and say, I help people in this situation who have this kind of thing. Do you have any more detail on like her target client? It's okay if you don't. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's typically going to be, I would say, people that are in their 30s and 40s.
Okay.
And I would say primarily it is people that are living together, but might not have gotten fully married, but are thinking about getting married, but not knowing if they should get married because they're having some issues.
Okay, got it. So that would be an example of like, maybe there's layers to this, right? So we call it a bullseye target client because the phrase target client is thrown out a lot, but a lot of times we don't think about the visual of the target, which I think is really useful to think about. If you think about if you're playing darts or archery, right, you have a target that has these different circles within it, right? And the closer you are to the bullseye, the higher your reward, right? The bullseye is that inner 10% of the target that's a perfect fit. Now, if you hit just outside the bullseye, you still get a partial credit, right? So it's not all or nothing. But when you're selling a group coaching program, remember, going back to the metaphor of like the guy hiring a guide for Kilimanjaro, a lot of people are going to DIY it, or a lot of people are going to go with a group of friends who they already have a guide. And I'm like, I'm just going to do what my friend's doing. That's fine. They're not looking for that. And so the same thing is true that even amongst your target, most people are going to either solve the problem on their own, DIY, or what's more common is they're just not going to solve the problem. I mean, your biggest competitors are not actually other coaches. Your biggest competitors are the status quo, aka do nothing, and do it yourself. Those are your two biggest competitors, right? And so in the situation you're talking about, most people are going to either read, they're going to scroll on some TikTok or YouTube shorts to watch some relationship advice and try to figure out how to solve things on their own, or they're going to do nothing and eventually they're just going to break up. I mean, my cousin Teresa ended up in that situation. She lived with a guy for 7 years, and then after 7 years, they were like coming up with a point where they're about to enter into common marriage at that point, because like legally there's only so long you can live together before it's just like automatic, and so they broke up. And it's like that they just never solved the problems that were keeping them from marriage. So, which is tragic. There's heartbreak all around. So we don't want to do nothing. We don't want to do nothing because the status quo is dangerous. We don't want people to do it themselves because trial and error. I mean, some people are going to do it themselves, but trial and error involves a lot of error, right? And so if we can get some people to accept our help, we know that it's going to be a better path. So Lindsay wants to help people through this process. So the bullseye would be figuring out what makes it that inner 10%. A lot of times this is some sort of trigger. Like, is it they just hit an anniversary in their relationship? That's a significant anniversary that makes them think, hey, are we going to take this seriously or not? Is this that somebody in their family, maybe somebody in their extended family died and made them appreciate their mortality and cared more about the situation in front of them? Maybe they're at the point where they're thinking about career prospects and maybe even relocating. But the biggest question mark is, how is this going to affect our relationship? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reasons that could cause that, but you're looking for like, what are the core things that are leading to someone to be your bullseye target client? And then more importantly than the triggers I just mentioned, what do they want? So for example, people that are cohabitating, like what you're talking about, there are some people who are like, yeah, we just want to improve our relationship. There's some people who are like, no, I want to get married, but my boyfriend doesn't want to. Mm-hmm. And so I love him and I want to stay with him, but I need to get him on board with the marriage thing, or this is not going to work out. Mm-hmm. Whoa, that's a very clear bullseye of an intent that you can have some sort of offer for. But like sort of the vague, like improve your situation is not going to work. So we're looking for like that bullseye target client of like, who's that inner 10%. That actually is. And
I've got a little bit more. I've got a little bit more context to give you now that I'm thinking through it.
Yeah.
She deals with a lot of feeling like you're roommates now because you've been together for a while. Intimacy, right? Someone doesn't feel like they're loved anymore because the relationship is older. You just become roommates now. And I know she's done some videos on that where it's like you're just feeling like, are we roommates or are we a couple? Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's a big one for just intimacy, I think is, feeling that connection.
Are you asking me to talk about sex on YouTube? Is that what you're doing?
I'm telling you, some of her videos, the best ones are how to increase intimacy in the bedroom. Like, in how to approach your wife, how to approach your husband, like vice versa. But yes, I am asking you that.
Okay.
Now.
All right. Sure. So we haven't done this group coaching program yet. This is a new offer for me. So, that's all right. My wife is pregnant with our fifth child due any day now. So I have a little experience in that department.
Yes.
So in that case, like where like intimacy is part of this, then we just got to clear like, what's the intent? And it sounds like the intent is some version of like, you want to reignite the spark. You want to reconnect. You want to make things feel, sometimes things feel one-sided and you want to make sure that it feels mutual again. Maybe you want to unlock, a sense of play and adventure in your love life, right? Like, those are kind of things that people in this situation might want.
Yep.
So then that's where you get to step 2, which is craft your 10x promise offer. So this is where we come up with a single sentence that communicates the total transformation that you're offering to somebody. So this is a 1-sentence version of your whole group coaching program offer. It follows a rough template of get result without roadblock, or this one gets a little risky based on the niche we're talking about. But the alternative formula for this is get desire without fear. In other words, get what you desire without what you're afraid of. So then it becomes really the craft your 10x promise offer exercise becomes getting clear on, okay, what exactly is the result or the desire that your target client wants? Like your bullseye target client, like what is that desire that they want? Sounds like some of that is probably reigniting a spark in their love life or reconnecting with their sexual partner in terms of intimacy. And then you got to get clear on like, okay, if that's what they want, how would they describe that in their words? And then what are they afraid of? And this isn't just any fear, right? It's not just like sort of saying without somebody breaking into your house. It's the fear that's related. Like, it's like if I tell you right now, hey, Scott, right now, just trust me on this one. Here's my 10x promise. Or because you don't always start with the word get, I should say that. There's always a verb at the beginning, but it's not always the word get. You can earn $1 million with crypto by the end of the week. $1 million with crypto by the end of the week. Tell me, what knee-jerk reactions do you have to that idea?
Yeah, right.
Tell me more. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe it. It seems a little far-fetched. Sounds like it would be maybe not legal.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few fears in there, right? Like some of them is just like, am I not a con man? Right. That's a whole other thing. But one of those ones you said, like, is this even legal? Right. So, earn $1 million from crypto without risking your current investments or breaking the law. Right. Already what I'm doing is if I preemptively say without the things that you're afraid of, you naturally trust me more because I just showed empathy. I just showed that I can actually see the things that you're afraid of. So in Lindsay's case, we got to figure out what exactly that might be. I don't know. Do you have a hunch or an idea on what her text promise might be? You want to pick like get a desire, like what do you want without what you're afraid of? Any ideas there?
I think it would be about like how to get your intimacy back without I don't know. We'd have to think about that.
How about get laid by your lover without begging for favors?
That's a good one. That's a good one. It's a little abrasive, but it's a good one. I mean,
yeah, but no, we're trying to talk about like what is that desire where somebody goes, "It's exactly what I want. I want to get laid by my lover without begging for favors."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I mean that hits it right to it. But here's the difference.
Okay.
I think in that context, it feels a little sleazy to the person versus saying like, yes, they want that, but they don't want it just for that reason. They want it because they want to feel connection. They want to feel part of each other, not just like I want to get that, have a fun night and All
right. That's fair. So we can edit this a little bit.
I mean, the
point I want to make though here is
we're going.
Yeah. The point I want to make here though is that we have to avoid fuzzy words that have vague meanings. Mm-hmm. Sometimes this is not just true when we're talking about taboo topics like we are right now. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when people are creating promises, next promises, they create these sort of vague promises that are like, improve your life in meaningful ways. And you're like, what does that mean? Right? Like we have to say it, right? So if you're not saying get laid by your lover, then what are we saying? Right? And so it's just, you got to be careful because if you say things like, if you say things like improve intimacy, it's like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean a good date night? Do you mean a good, what do you mean? You got to be explicit.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that gets attention right there. That'd be a good YouTube title.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, because there's plenty of ads out there for guys telling you how to get laid, but get laid by your lover, that's a whole different angle, right? It's
That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, Lindsay, take or leave that promise, right? You don't have to use that exact language, but I do think it's worth like exploring with like, what does that look like a little bit to say that? And sometimes it is what you're looking for is a little bit of an emotional reaction of someone, because keep in mind too, this is typically when you share the 10x promise, it's typically a private conversation, not a public YouTube video. Yeah. And so because of that, the person you're talking to, people are willing to admit their private desires, right? In that moment, they're like, yeah, that might be what I actually want, right?
Yeah, I didn't say it out loud, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. I can't say it out loud, but you're on the nose here, Yeah, and so I think that there's so many versions of the 10x promises. I will say this is one that's worth looking at some examples. There are a ton of examples in the book, but I'll just share a couple. So Sean Blanc has a program that's for like business owners that's run your full-time business working part-time hours. And so he's a productivity and focus coach, but getting clear on like, what's the actual 10x promise there, right? Run your full-time business working part-time hours. So notice, instead of saying the without thing, where we've just flipped it and turned it into a paradox, get result without roadblock or get desire without fear is sort of how you get the first draft. And then you want to wordsmith it a little bit, but you're trying to communicate to people, hey, I can give you gas pedal without brake pedal. That's really what you're trying to communicate, right? And so because that's saying like run your full-time business, working part-time hours, it was really attractive to someone who already has their business at the revenue level they want, but they're feeling burnt out. And they're like, are you saying I actually don't have to take a pay cut to take a day off, right? That's a good one.
Yeah, and I'll just share mine real quick.
Please.
And there's actually two versions that we've been playing around with, and I'm working with John directly, so we've been kind of massaging this a little bit. But
yeah,
get steady leads from one simple YouTube video per week.
Yeah, love it.
Now, I could add without posting on social media 24/7.
You could. That would be okay. I think when it comes to 10x promises, every word counts in terms of if you're taking up too many brain calories. It's sort of like if the sentence is too long, by the time I get to the end of it, I forgot the first part, right? And the first part's the most important part, get steady leads, right? Because that's the promise. Is like, what do I want? I want steady leads. That's actually what I want. And so what you're telling me is like, so let's not walk this through actually. So get steady leads is the result, right? Amazing. Love that. I want that. And then you're saying, if you just said like from one YouTube video per week, well, first of all, if you just said from YouTube, I'm like, that's just a huge thing. I can't wrap my head around that. YouTube is like a whole playground. It's massive. When you say from one YouTube video per week, that's better. But already I'm going, yeah, but I'm going to have to like hire an editor and like build a studio. And like, it's just going to be way too complicated. And then you're like, simple. Get steady leads from one simple YouTube video per week. I'm like, oh, okay. Call me interested. Yeah, like I'm interested. I want that. I want that a lot. So I think that's a great example. I'm glad you brought that up. Mine is actually the subtitle of my book, or most of the subtitle is the same as my program, which is earn $10,000 or more per month, group coaching 90 minutes per week. It's like, it's very specific. And mine started more broad and vague. The $10,000 thing came up actually because over and over again, when I was talking to my bullseye target client, that was the number that came up as like the most meaningful number. It's like, hey, if we can get to the point where you're consistently earning at least $10,000 per month from this, that opens up, that's a game changer. That's not the difference between $10,000 a month and $20,000 a month is actually not much from like a lifestyle perspective, right? Obviously it's double the revenue, but from a lifestyle perspective, it's not actually a huge difference. Now between $10,000 a month and $100,000 a month, yes, big difference. But the lifestyle difference between $0 a month and $10,000 a month is massive, right? It's a universe. And so that's what we're looking for is like, what can we promise that is a dramatic change? This is what we call it a 10x promise, because it's meant to be like, hey, this is not an incremental change. This is a dramatic change in someone's life.
Yeah. And the one thing that I want to say that you taught me was while you're doing these, you call them serve calls. You have a book called Serve Calls. And I love it. It's not a sales call. It's literally you're showing up and you're serving. Another little plug for another book that John has. We'll link that in the description. But yeah, it's back there.
Yeah.
But what I love with that is you learned that language was being said in those calls. And I remember you said at first you were talking about maybe saying 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
But you were hearing 10,000 a month is what they wanted.
Yeah, that was something. Yes. Yeah. So our goal with step 2, I should say, is we say craft your 10x promise offer. I could probably say draft your 10x promise offer, because the reality is you're going to move forward with it in draft mode. Like it's not going to be finalized, because once you start talking to clients, you may rewrite it. I think my very first 10x promise was something like, let's see, build a 6-figure flagship product or something without social media or paid ads. I think that might have been my first one years and years ago. But what is flagship product? Well, a flagship product is my resistance to committing to group coaching. And my saying, because me saying, well, maybe it's group coaching, but maybe it's something else in that premium high ticket category. And I just eventually committed. I was like, you know what? 80% of the time it's group coaching. So let's just say what that means. And then even then though, I said, yeah, earn 6 figures, or I would say like earn $100,000 a year. Because I'm thinking like that's the number that makes a big difference. But when I asked people, I said, what is your most important goal right now? Over and over again, my bullseye target client, who's an emerging authority, said $10,000 a month. And I was like, okay, like I'm just going to bow to the people here, right? This is what they're saying. And so I just started saying that back to them and saying, would you like to earn $10,000? They're like, that's exactly what I want. How did you know? Right?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight that a little bit because I think it's evolving. It's not like you have to be dead set on it, but you want to get close. I think you want to get close, and you do have to spend a lot of time on that in the beginning because without that, we can't really move forward effectively, I feel like, and get the results that we want to get if we don't do that pre-work. So
yes, exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's keep going here. So now we've got our 10X promise. Where are we going from here?
So next is step 3, send compelling hand raisers. So this is an email invitation, but a hand raiser really honestly is inspired by if you were speaking on stage, because even if you're talking to a small audience, like a small email list, like what would you say is a small email list, Scott? Like give me a number.
I would say 500.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine you're on stage in front of 500 people. Is that a small audience?
Sure. I'd feel that'd be a big audience, right?
That'd be a big audience, right? It changes the whole game. So now imagine you're on stage in front of 500 people, human beings, and you know that 5 or 10 or 12 people in that room are your bullseye target client. The way you get their attention, there's a lot of ways you could probably do it, but the best way to get their attention while you're on stage is just to say, hey, would you raise your hand if you are this or if you want this, right? So, hey, would you raise your hand if you are a pediatric dentist in Milwaukee, right? Like, let's just get really specific here. And they raise their hand and you say, great, let's have a little sidebar conversation over here, right? Now you can talk to those people. Theoretically, and I've been at conferences where they do this, theoretically, you could just pitch your offer and say, hey, I know in this audience there's probably 5 people who want this thing. Here's the thing. Do you want it? Crickets.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen master marketers and master copywriters go up on stage and give a brilliant, amazing 30-minute slide deck pitch for a premium group coaching or mastermind that in your bones is worth every dollar they're asking. And they've pitched it to an audience of 300 of their best customers who paid thousands of dollars to be in the room already. And then I've been in the green room afterwards with the speaker where he asked the team, how many sales did we get? And they said 0. Wow. I'm just saying, like, that's just the truth. It's like those things, but you don't know that in the audience. You're thinking, oh yeah, they probably got a bunch of people to sign up,
Yeah.
But the thing is, these are not impulse buys. Like when we're charging $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, that's not an impulse buy. And so we need to give people a chance to talk about it, right? To talk it through. So the hand raisers are an email invitation, but it's just based off that same idea of like, if you're sitting on stage, you ask people to raise their hand and step to the side. Now, hand raisers, there are a lot of hand raisers. I will say, my favorite one when you're introducing a new offer is to start with the 1 to next hand raiser. So it's called the 1 to next because basically the whole hand raiser is just saying like, hey, you want a 10X, and the 10X promise in this case, right? So that means Lindsay's sending an email and she's saying, hey, Scott, would you like to get laid by your lover without begging for favors? Dash Lindsay.
I was going to say that one there is going to go down in history. We have to keep reusing that one. That one there, I'm telling you, if you did that one on stage, you'd get more people on that one than any other 10X promise.
You think so? We'll see. We'll see. I'm wondering how long after this episode goes live I get canceled, but we'll see. The problem is I have no social media, so it's really hard to cancel me. But that's the whole email.
Yeah.
And so someone's opening that email and they're staring at it and they're saying, how does she know? That's exactly what I want. And so they stare at it for a minute and they reply and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Tell me more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very short. It's very to the point. And it's also a phenomenal test of the 10X promise offer. Because if you get 0 replies, that tells you everything you need to know. They don't want it.
Yep.
Right?
That's really good. Question on that.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm doing personally right now as we're kind of in it. What's your thoughts on including that after they opt in for your lead magnet?
It can work. You mean like in an email or do you mean like on the landing page or what do you mean?
Yeah, in an email.
It's tricky. So it can work, but the problem is when a brand new subscriber comes in, your immediate goal, usually is to have some sort of nurture bridge to bring them into your world. And this email is a lot like, hey, do you want to achieve your wildest dreams? And if I just met you, because I just signed up for your list, I'm not sure, Scott. I'm not sure if I want to achieve my wildest dreams with you. I'm not sure which guide you are. Are you the guy that's going to take me up the Mount Timpanogos and leave me in a hailstorm? I'm not sure. Yeah.
So in this case, you have other hand raisers. You have a bunch of hand raisers.
Yeah.
There still could be a hand raiser right there that would just say, hey, tell me a little bit more about X.
Yeah. So actually, I'm glad you brought this up. So my favorite here is, I just call it the new subscriber hand raiser or the welcome hand raiser. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Is that I have it set up to as an automation. So it's literally 1 hour after somebody subscribes. So it's not immediate because, everybody, when they subscribe, they get like the confirmation, the welcome email, and they kind of tune all that out, right? So an hour later, they get an email from me that says, and the subject line is just Scott. It's just your name. And the email says, I'm so glad to see that you signed up. Would you tell me a bit about yourself and your current situation?
Yeah.
And that's Dash John. That's the whole email. So it looks like it's a plain text email. It looks very personal. People get that. Plenty of people ignore that email, but plenty of people reply back to that. And they were like, wow, John, like, I'm so glad you asked. I found you because I was looking for a solution to this specific problem. And I watched this video you did. And then I just read 2 of your books. And I don't know. It seems like maybe we should talk. And I reply back and I say, yeah, sounds like we should. Right. And then that's a very different position than like someone going like, I think I want your free thing. And you saying, hi, you want to marry me? And it's like, no, that's like, whoa, like back up,
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. So that's what I recommend for new subscribers.
Yeah. So that's if you're currently doing it, throw that in there, get that engagement happening. Yeah. The 10X, when would that happen? When would you be comfortable sending that then? Is there a certain time period? Like if someone's been on your list for a certain amount of time, like where do you kind of use that for your thinking?
Well, the first time you're launching a new program, I recommend send it to your whole list because there's a reason. When you're sending compelling hand raisers, there's 2 that I recommend you send within a week of each other. And there's detailed templates of training on this in the book, but I'll just tell you the rough version. The second one is called the Who Do You Know hand raiser. When you send these 2 within a week of each other, what it does is it acts like a product announcement. Publicly, it tells everyone in your email list, this is what I help people solve, and these are the type of people that I work with, even if they don't reply.
Yeah.
And so it actually is more effective than a product announcement because you never mention the product. You leave that as a curiosity trigger. Yeah. Right. So I recommend you send that to your full list, knowing that like the odds that a brand new subscriber is going to reply are pretty low. But sometimes it happens because sometimes people are like, well, yeah, I've been binging your YouTube videos. I just subscribed today, but I've actually been binging your YouTube videos for like 3 weeks. And so I know who you are and I'm like invested, Yeah. In the future, and now I do have an automation in place that new subscribers, they go through like a crash course. So they get an email from me every day for a week. That's not a hand raiser. That's more like a value add nurture sequence, like a newsletter thing. And then at the end of that, so this is like the 8th day, they're getting one and next. They're getting that hand raiser, right? So at this point, I've given them 7 ways to engage and learn without really a call to action, other than what I just shared, like the tell me more, hand raiser, that new subscriber hand raiser.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you send those 2. And so the hand raiser is a little bit longer, but it's more essentially you're saying, so let's give you an example. So like one I sent once, the subject line was, 10K group coaching. And the email itself said, hey, Scott, can you help me? After phasing out all my one-on-one clients, I've opened up some space on my calendar for complimentary coaching. And I'd love to serve someone specific who has worked in the same industry for at least 10 years, has capped out with as many clients as they can currently manage, and would be interested in developing a group coaching program where they can charge $2,000 to $10,000 per client. Do you know anyone like that? So it's Dash John. It's written like a referral email. Like I'm saying, hey, can you refer someone to me? Yeah. But it's a little bit of a benevolent Trojan horse. I don't know. We got to come up with a better name for that. What do you call a Trojan horse that doesn't have soldiers inside? Like it's like a cream pie or a Twinkie or something. I don't know. But maybe it's a Twinkie. But regardless, or hostess. But what it does is people get that, they read that, and they go, "Oh wait, that's me."
Yeah.
So then they reply and say, "That's me," and you say, "Amazing."
Yep.
Would you tell me a bit about yourself and your current situation? Right. And then your goal from there is, as people reply, is to invite them into what is step 4, which is serve to sell with 1 free coaching call. So you're not just like sending a link to everybody. What you're doing though is when they reply to the hand raiser, you're saying, I'm glad to hear you're interested. Would you tell me a bit about yourself and your current situation? And they reply back. And some people reply back with like a sentence, like I'm a change maker. That's a real one that a client got last week. Some reply back with 5 paragraphs of their life story. Some people reply back with like a reasonable paragraph or 2. Like that's also fine. Sure. But we're looking for our bullseye target client once they've given us signs. So like Lindsay's getting an email back here that says like, I mean, Lindsay, I'm a little thrown off by your hand raiser because it was so direct and bold and brash. But yeah, that's exactly what I want. Yeah. I feel like my girlfriend or my wife is just a roommate. And honestly, like I want more intimacy, but I feel like I sort of just have to ask for a favor, and then I just feel guilty. I'm just like, shouldn't she want this too? Like, do we just want to like be together? And like, I don't know. We tried going to couples therapy, but it was mostly about like childhood trauma and not like current trauma, right? What do I do?
Yeah.
And then Lindsay says, like, hey, thank you for sharing all of that. I'd love to learn more about your goals to see if or how I can help. Would you click here to schedule a free coaching call with me?
Perfect. Yeah.
And that's how you bring people in to actually serve to sell with one free coaching call.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, cool. We're blazing a path here. All right, keep going. Yeah. Keep going. What's next?
All right, let's do it. So on the call itself, you got to run the serve call method. I'm trying to think through like what's for the purpose of our stuff today. I don't want to keep any secrets. I mean, I can say like the whole serve call method is in the book, Serve to Sell.
Yeah.
It's also there's also an abbreviated version of the book, Sold Out Coach. But essentially, a serve call is a customer research coaching conversation that leads to a sale. So they're not sales calls. They're 100% of the time when you give a serve call effectively, 100% of the time, they're useful to the client because they walk away feeling a sense of progress and achievement. 100% of the time, they're useful to you because you walk away with detailed word for word from your bullseye target client of how they describe what they want and what stands in the way.
Yep.
And about half the time, you walk away with a few $1,000s in your pocket. So it's a pretty good deal. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, Scott, anything you want to say about serve calls or anything you want me to share about that particular? I mean, we could do a whole video just teaching the serve call method.
Yeah. We probably will have you come back and teach a masterclass on that because I think that's definitely something. Guys, let us know in the comments too if you want John to come back and maybe teach that. Also, I should probably call a little time out here. Guys, we're covering a ton and this is all in the book. That's why he put this book together. It is a playbook. It literally is a playbook. So definitely make sure you grab a copy. We'll go ahead and drop that link in the description as well. And let us know any takeaways that you have. Like, let us know any takeaways or any questions. We'd love to hear what you're thinking here through this, and hopefully you can plug this into your existing business, or maybe this is your new business model. So the serve call to me though, John, because I've done the whole other thing and I didn't like the salesy call stuff.
Yeah.
And your whole thing is like, come at this from service, do a lot of listening, and you're almost letting them be heard, right? You are. It's not even your almost. You are letting them be heard, but you're listening in a way that asks the questions that then at the end gets them to almost have them self-identify their problem. And your solution is typically going to be the problem that they have you solve. And you kind of like reiterate that back to them. And then you say, hey, would you like me to help you with that? I mean, that's distilled.
Yeah, it's kind of elegant because if you think about it, the hand raiser was saying like, do you have this problem? And they're like, yes. And you're like, tell me more about the solution. Or sorry, tell me more your situation. But you already know they have the problem that you solve. Yeah. Right. So then you're saying, tell me more. And you're saying, let's talk about it. And then on the call, you're guiding them through a series of questions to get them to talk more about it and expand upon it. And then at the end, you're like, by the way, would you like, it sounds like this is your problem, but like you're literally coming back to the same thing you started with.
Right.
And so they're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly my problem. And you're like, no way. Well, I have a program designed to help you do that thing. What are the odds? The odds are high because we engineered them, right? Like that's the whole, yeah. Right. And so then people feel heard. They feel a sense of excitement and progress and hope. And then they're happy to invest in a program that helps them solve that, to work with a trusted guide, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a whole process that you've put together and you've done a very good job at it. And I think the one thing I also want to say before we move on is with that, like, you're actually having them self-identify of things that they've done and tried that might not have worked. And now you're also making them remember that, but then also kind of come up with their own problem awareness. But then you kind of turn it around to be where, now sometimes you're going to be, I don't have anything, but here's a resource, right? Like you're not always just going to be like, I can sell this person. It's like, if it's not a fit, it's actually good for you to know I might not be able to help this person, right?
Like, I mean, in Lindsay's situation, like, let's go back to Lindsay for a minute. It's like, she may end up on a serve call where someone starts talking and the more they open up, they tell you, hey, the real issue is my partner's an abuser. And like, I'm in this like physically abusive relationship and I'm not safe.
Yep.
Don't have her join your group coaching program.
No. Nope.
Tell her to get out of Dodge and call the police. They call the police and then call a therapist, right? Like that's like, our goal is not trying to be the solution for every situation.
Exactly.
Right. I had someone meet with me recently who was like, I want to launch a group coaching program. I'm like, amazing. And he's like, I've got a bunch of clients and an email list. I'm like, sounds good. Let's talk. We get in the call and he's like, yeah, I'm dead broke. he's like, I'm so broke. Like, I'm willing to like max out my last credit card to work with you and launch this thing. And like, if this doesn't work, we're gonna lose the house. And I'm like, don't do it. Like, I do not want that kind of stress on me. I'm like, hey, this system works, but there's a lot of steps. I mean, yes, there are 7 simple steps, but within that, there's nuance. There's things you got to edit, right? And it's like, I just told him, I was like, look, your job right now is not to pay me. Your job is to go call. Okay. By the way, when I say call 877 cash now, I don't actually mean JG Whitworth. I just mean like, we use that as a metaphor to be like, we have like occasionally we run into a cash crunch in the business and I'll open a Slack channel that's called 877 cash now as like a temporary, like, campaign. So yeah, I just told him, I was like, you just need to call 877 cash now. And I don't mean JG Whitworth. And just like, you need to go focus on getting clients, like one-on-one, right? Like just get some cash flow. And then you don't have to scale like crazy. Then come back and listen to the group coaching thing, right? Sure. So yes, part of the way that a serve call ends, it doesn't end with a pitch, it ends with a recommendation. Right. Now, if you've done your work, your pre-work, the recommendation is most of the time going to be that they should join your program.
Right.
But it's not always going to be the case. So that's okay. I mean, I met with somebody last week actually who it literally came down to like, she's in Australia. And I was like, our coaching calls are at 3 a.m. your time. She's like, that's not going to work. I was like, yeah, you should not join. I recommend you do not join my program. Right. Because I'm not going to move my call. Right. And you're not going to get up at 3 a.m. And she's like, I agree. I was like, great. We're all on the same page. And so what I did was I recommended a different coach who lives in Australia, who I knew like teaches some stuff that's similar, different, but similar. But I was like, you don't always have that. But in this case, I was able to say, hey, you should learn from him. Yeah. And then she also pointed out, she was like, by the way, John, you should know, I did go to soldout.coach and buy a copy of your books, and I am going to read that and put that into practice. And so I was like, great. That's exactly what everyone who's listening to this video is going to do. And so I'm looking forward to hearing all the case studies that come from that.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So let's move on. So we got the serve call. We get some yeses. Now what?
Yeah. So then step 5 is to get your cohort sold out. The whole name of the concept sold out coach comes from this fact that when you're developing a new product, by design, people aren't going to trust it, right? Because it's sort of like you're saying like, hey, you want to go with me? Like the guy I mentioned earlier. Hey, you want to go with me on this? I'll be your guide on this hike up Kilimanjaro. And yeah, it's the first time I've ever led a group. You're like, I'll pass, right? Yeah. Like high risk.
I don't want to be the risk. Yeah. I don't want to be the risk taker. Yeah.
And so the thing is, you can't get around the fact that your first cohort is your first cohort. Now, hopefully you're coaching something that you have real experience in. Yeah. I mean, definitely you should be doing that. Just to be clear, it's more than hopefully, like definitely coach something you actually know what you're talking about. Right. But one thing you can do yourself a favor with is limit your very first group to just 5 clients paying you $2,000. Because then what happens is as soon as you get those 5 clients to pay you $2,000, I mean, A, you earn your first $10,000. That's nice. But B, you are sold out. And once you are a sold out coach with a sold out group coaching program, now all of a sudden there's a lot of people who will pay attention to you that did not pay attention before. They were not interested. Most people do not want to be early adopters, founding members. They don't. Most people don't. They want to join something that's trustworthy, that's tried, that's true, that's established. And so you just set the bar really low for yourself of saying, look, 5 people, you can count them on one hand. If you got all your fingers, you count them on one hand.
Right.
And let's just go get 5 clients and get sold out.
Right. Okay. So we're going to get sold out. We do that by doing everything that we built up to this point. We got the serve call, we got the hand raiser, the serve call, and then here we are. Okay. Now what?
Well, so now we get to go into step 6 already, which is celebrate clients to create more clients. Now, there's kind of a bonus step 5, part 2, I'll say, which is that, so I've got a client who just did this. I've got a few clients who've done this. This worked really well, of saying like, if you're going, okay, John, I like this idea, but I do want more than 5 clients in my group, or I do want to earn more than $10,000 from a cohort. And that's great. I know people who earn over $100,000 per cohort. I have clients who do that. So that's very possible. And I'm not saying you need to raise your price $1 at a time. One of the best things I found is that if you launch your first group using the hand raiser and the serve call method, and then you get your first 5 clients to pay, and now you're sold out. If you still have some time on the clock, and I mean at least 2 or 3 weeks, go ahead and open 5 more spots in the exact same cohort for $3,000. So you're going from $2,000 to $3,000. Now all of a sudden, your first cohort, you earn $25,000, right? 5 times 2 plus 5 times 3. You'll actually earn $25,000 from your first cohort. It'll be sold out twice, and you'll have 10 clients who can become super fans and become referral partners for you or become case studies in the future. So that strategy, I've had a few people do it, and it works really well, because then you're getting a lot of momentum out of the gate. And then once you do that, I guess we're backing up to step 5. I was starting to go to step 6, but this is definitely still step 5. Once you do that, you can send a sold out hand raiser. So it's another hand raiser you send to your list where you're just saying like, hey, I'm so excited to be leading this group of people to do this thing over the next 60 days. We're going to be digging into this, and that, and the other. And this program is 100% sold out right now, but I'm sure I'm going to be doing it again sometime in the future. Please reply if you'd like me to let you know when I have a spot available. Right? And that hand raiser gets people to reply. Now, in some cases, like Lindsay's, now I'm thinking back to Lindsay. It's like, hey, Lindsay, that sold out hand raiser, you might have to be kind of vague. You probably don't want to like dox everyone's names of like who's in this program, right? But you can just say, you're like, hey, I'm really excited. I'm leading this group of men and women who bravely stood up to join this group and say, hey, I really do want to bring back, intimacy and connection in my relationship in a deep and meaningful way without feeling like I have to beg for scraps or midnight quickies. Okay, maybe that last one, I don't know, but but I don't usually get to write these kind of promises, Scott. So now you got my, making thinking creatively.
Hey, I'm making you work extra hard here, John.
Yeah, this is great. No, this is good.
This is a good example. Niche.
This is good. This is a good example. Why did I bring that up? Okay, yeah. So then someone replies, they're like, yeah, I mean, I'm curious, I don't know, but like if that program sold out, what that communicates to people reading this is they go, oh, wow, people actually did that. People actually paid a guide to help them solve that problem. It's not just because they're bad in bed or that they have unresolved daddy issues. And so it communicates that this is the thing people do. People invest in programs like this because they did. Mm-hmm. And then it encourages more people to lean in and say, I mean, yeah, tell me the next time you got a group available. And then what happens is you do not add them to a waiting list. That is how you kill a sale. What you do instead is to say, excellent, I'm so glad to hear that you're interested. Would you tell me more about yourself and your current situation? And you run this same exact hand raiser playbook. You schedule a serve call. By the time you end up on a call with them, it's been a week or two. You're still a few weeks out from your next cohort. You're able to tell them, hey, good news. I've actually got a group that starts next month on August 12th. And I'd love to have you be part of that group. Would you like me to go ahead and save your seat? Right? Mm-hmm. Well done, Lindsay, at selling out that second cohort. So I'm excited. To hear back hear the results on that. But yeah, any questions about step 5?
No, I guess the only thing that is arising that I know is probably being asked is, because it's a question I've had, is you go ahead and you start booking that next one. And let's say you get one person in that, and then you don't sell and you only got the one person. Now what do you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to make sure you come back to the very, very simple sales system under the hood, because this does happen. But a lot of times what happens is people think, oh, I've got to do some sort of marketing campaign. It's like, no, back up for a second. How many serve calls did you give? Because if you give 10 serve calls, you should close 5 sales. Now, if you don't, there's a troubleshooting checklist you can go through. And this is actually in the book. So like Coach, I created a troubleshooting checklist for this. But if you give 10 serve calls, you don't close 5 sales, and let's look at how many, right? If you're pretty close, like you close 3 or 4, it's like, okay, that's close enough. Like, let's just go get 10 more serve calls, right? If you close 10 serve calls and you got 1 sale, that means something went wrong. It could be one of a few things. It could mean you didn't actually meet with your bullseye target client. So go back and look at who was your bullseye, not just the target, who was your bullseye target client, and go back and compare that to your 10 serve calls and find out, okay, how many of these were actually my bullseye target client and not somebody who's kind of on the edge of the target, right? Mm-hmm. And then what you do from there is, and if still the answer is no, all 10 are my bullseye target client, I only closed 1 sale. Then my question is, okay, how many said no? Because a lot of times people say, I only got 1 yes, but I'm like, well, how many no's did you get? And they're like, well, I got 9 maybes. I'm like, that's not an answer. Maybe is purgatory. You got to get them out of there, right? So you got to coach these people to a firm decision, yes or no. And a lot of times coaches just kind of chicken out, honestly, on the close. And then you don't coach people to a final decision. And then they get stuck in maybe land. If you follow the serve call method, you will coach people to a final decision, yes or no. Now, if you, again, let's go back to the scenario. You gave 10 serve calls. You got 1 yes. If you get 9 no's, you're not following the serve call method. Like, that's the only time I've ever seen it happen, where if you meet with 10 of your bullseye target client and you run the serve call method and you only get 1 yes, something's wrong in there. Go back and look at your transcript and see, are you actually following the method, or are you fumbling something in terms of, especially the triple yes recommendation, which is how you actually close and enroll at the end. A lot of times people kind of skip over that. And that's actually really critical for setting up the sale.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, we'll probably have to have John come back and do a whole masterclass on the serve calls, because
let's do it.
That is a critical piece. And I know you said like you cover a little bit of that in the book, but it's a critical piece. So definitely check out the book beforehand. We'll put it in the description, but it's definitely a method worth adopting.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's keep cruising here.
Okay. So step 6 is celebrate clients to create more clients. Well, the other things up until now are mostly like tactics, or tools, but this is actually a principle that should just change your marketing, where it just becomes a core part of your marketing is always thinking, how can I celebrate a client in this newsletter, in this video, in this book, in this chapter? I actually just did a count, like in chapter 6 of the book, Sold Out Coach, which is about how to celebrate clients, create more clients. I actually said, hey, check real quick. If you count, there are 18 different clients before now in the book that I used those real life client examples to illustrate tactics or lessons or tools. What's really cool about that is it starts to make your 10X promise come to life. It's not just an idea. It just becomes like, here's how this person did it. Here's how this person did it. And it starts to make it feel more 3-dimensional, or like, it's almost like moving from black and white to color, and helps people start to see themselves and believe it's possible. And so there's a lot of ways you can do this. And actually I was just counting like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 different like examples in the book of like, here's a tactical campaign you can run that celebrates clients. But it starts just a principle. I mean, you can even do this in like a newsletter. Think about it. You know how like some like businesses will have like an employee of the week sign?
Sure.
Like, what if you had a client of the week? Right? Like, what if you had like, hey, this week, the client of the week is Scott, and we're going to talk about Scott and how he sold, his first 10 spots in his first group coaching program. And like, and then he's going to be the client of the week that we're going to tell his stories. It's just, whenever you do this, it creates more clients. I was just talking. Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just going to say I know the question that's going to be being asked is so I can only share people that have been fully successful with exactly what you promise. When in actuality, I think it's just a win, right? It's a win that could be celebrated versus it being, they have to have climbed the full mountain, right? They've had to get to the top.
Yeah, no, they have to, not at all. In fact, like, I mean, I've even mentioned examples in this one. Like I mentioned Sean Block's 10X promise earlier of like run your full-time business working part-time hours. He ran that. He had 6 sold out cohorts in a row, and then he shut that business down. And then he went and launched a different business. And so like just because he was ready, he'd run that business for more than a decade. He handed it over to his team to run it, and he started another business called Aspen. So like, just to be clear, these things are never like picture perfect. Like you have to think of like, what are some real life examples that I can pull in of illustrating pieces of that? Sometimes I'll share a story about how somebody got their first client, and that's inspiring for thinking through how to get your first client. Sometimes I share stories like our good friend Dustin Reikman, who's now like, hey, here's how he built this business. It's in his 3rd year of doing $1 million a year from group coaching. Well done, Dustin. He started that when he started working with me. He was still a part-time traffic engineer. And he had like, I think he had almost 500 email subscribers, so about that small audience you talked about earlier, right? Yeah. So that was 4 years ago. Well done. I share Dustin's story. I'm trying to inspire people what's possible. I share Rebecca Davis's story when I'm thinking about somebody has maybe like their site set at a little bit of a lower goal, where her whole goal is to have 2 sold out cohorts a year so she can run her nonprofit. And so it's like 2 a year, it's like I break her story down. So you don't actually, the reason why this is step 6 is because it becomes easier once you have clients, but the clients don't actually even have to be from your group coaching program. In fact, Abby Louie is a member of Sold Out Coach Club who did this, where she did what we call a showcase. She did a casual Q&A where she invited one of her clients to come on and share their whole story about how they achieved the 10X promise. And they were not even a client. They were a friend that she'd helped.
Okay.
So her 10X promise, her bullseye target client are women with young kids at home who work full-time corporate jobs, and they want to spend more time with their family. And so her offer is to help you turn your full-time corporate job into a part-time consulting business so that your professional success is not dependent upon family sacrifice.
Okay.
Right. And she's done that. She actually was able to herself when she was working full time and her kids were little, she was like, man, this is like crazy because she's working 40, 50 hours a week. It's like, it's always daycare and all this kind of stuff. And she didn't want to sacrifice her career, but she wanted to be more flexible and have more freedom for her family. And so she got a couple of consulting clients, and then she convinced her employer to actually hire her as a consultant. So she quit her day job, but she kept them as a client. So she was able to earn the same income from a part-time consulting role. So then she helped a friend of hers do the same thing, just like coaching her through like how to do it. So then now when it came down to launch a group coaching program, we were like, wow, you have a case study. So she brought her on to this Q&A, walked with her friend, said like, hey, how'd you do it? And her friend was like, well, here's how I did it. But Abby, this was all you, right? You helped me do this.
Yeah.
And so then that led Abby to book 16 serve calls from that Q&A. And out of those 16 serve calls, 5 joined her program and she was 100% sold out. And then 2 paid a deposit for her next cohort.
Great.
So like this just celebrating the client is just such an effortless way to sell.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I just wanted to highlight that because some people think you have to have like the entire goal achieved, and you don't technically. You just have to show that there's been progress and you're working towards, climbing the mountain and you're getting over those hurdles.
Yeah. So again, in Lindsay's case, there's a lot of ways that success could look like, right? And so it's probably you got to figure out you do have to figure out like what are people willing to share. But I have clients who help people repair current marriages after infidelity, or people who help repair their own mental health and relationship potential after divorce. And so like they're like relationships are messy stuff, and so sometimes you got to have like nuance there of like, okay, what can we share? But a lot of times, if you help a group of 5 or 10 people, there's 1 or 2 people in that group who are like, hey, I don't care. Put me on the website. Like I'm such a fan of how much you've changed our life, right? Yeah. Like just tell the world. Sometimes it's just first names, and that's all you got. Yeah. That's enough. But even, it's just like, that's just that. So that becomes the thing. It's just like, make them the hero. It's like now all of a sudden, because the thing is too, here's the other thing. Like if I'm writing something and sharing from my own personal experience, all the experience that I can share from is as, a 30, how old am I? I think I'm 35. Yeah. The mid-30s, like I'm like a mid-30s dad. Like I can share stories as a mid-30s dad. Sure. Right? I didn't think about it. It's like, am I 36? I think I'm 35. Yeah. So I, as a 35-year-old dad, that's a story I can tell. Is like how I experienced as a 35-year-old dad. Well, if you're a 65-year-old business executive with $1 million portfolio that's thinking about launching a group coaching program to help people like, establish family legacy, you probably don't want to hear too many stories from a 35-year-old dad who's trying to be your guide. Like, right. You want to hear some, but then you're like thinking about, now all of a sudden you want to be hearing stories about how I helped this 7-year-old man launch a group coaching program, or like you're looking for more people like you. The same thing if you're a woman, then you might think I'm adorable. I do have a baby face, but that's not like, it's hiding behind the beard, as what I try to do, and the glasses, they're fake. But, the reality is, if I share stories about how I helped Abby do this, and you start to connect to her story,
yes,
you're more likely to lean into it, right? It's the same thing with Lindsay sharing stories about intimacy issues. It's like, hey, as a woman, she can talk about her experiences. But when she starts bringing in a story about like how Jeff got laid by his lover on a regular basis without having to beg for favors, and Jeff's really ecstatic about it, now the dudes are like, I'm in, right? And so you get to create this like tapestry of different humans going through your program.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's land the plane. We're at step 7 now.
Yeah.
So let's land it here, John.
7 of 7. Step 7 is scale your client creation machine. And step 7 is really about saying like, look, up until now, a lot of the stuff is we talked about. A lot of it's kind of manual, right? And it's like events and things that you do. Sure. And you need to do that to build these assets, to build the program, to make sure that it's actually working as you sell it. But step 7 is where you get to start really turning that into a system that can scale. Because the rest of your future of your business is going to be built on the success of your efforts to build a client creation machine. Now, the client creation machine is built of 3 interlocking systems. Systems to attract your bullseye target client with free sample solutions, to nurture your subscribers so they know, like, and trust you, and then to sell your 10x promise by helping your clients believe, right? And it's just attract, nurture, sell. And you've got, now a lot of this you already have, like stuff we talked about today are a lot of these are tools that fit under, like hand raisers, for example, are this bridge between nurture and sell, right? The curve call is clearly a sell tool. The 10x promise is a sell tool. And so you're helping people get steady leads, which is an attract strategy, right? And so there's a lot of things you already know that there's probably a lot of things you're doing that are under attract, nurture, or sell. what I find is that typically people are really, really strong in one of those areas or stronger in one of those areas. And typically there's one that where they're doing okay and one that's completely ignored. But if you can shore up all three, attract, nurture, sell, just look at right now, okay, which one needs some work? That's going to scale your business because it becomes a business where it starts to, turn the trust that you're getting, the incoming attention you're getting, turn that into treasure to really fuel your business.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I love that. So let's bring it all around now. Give us a quick little recap. So if someone's starting today, first off, grab the book, right? Yeah. Grab the book. It's going to be in the description. Definitely grab it. But give us the quick start.
Yeah. I mean, it's step 1, find your target client bullseye. Step 2, craft your 10x promise offer. Step 3, send compelling hand raisers. Step 4, serve to sell with 1 free coaching call. Step 5, get your cohort sold out. Step 6, celebrate clients to create more clients. And step 7, scale your client creation machine. It's really just those 7 steps. It's that's it. It's honestly, to get your first group sold out, you just need steps 1 through 5. Steps 6 and 7 are about scaling beyond that. Forgive me the pause. I had one of those mental moments where I said 6, 7 out loud. I've got kids who are in that age range right now where they're running around the house yelling 6, 7 probably already. But steps 1 through 5 is really all you need to get sold out. And so it starts with finding your bullseye target client. I always, when people kind of jump in, they're like, okay, yeah, but I just want to jump in. 5 clients at $2,000. I'm like, yes, but which clients? We have to back up because you cannot make a 10x promise offer without knowing who your bullseye target client is. And you can't create a hand raiser without knowing what your 10x promise offer is. You can't give a serve call without any of that. So I would say once you're looking at those steps, your goal is to send 2 hand raisers to book 10 serve calls and give those 10 serve calls to your bullseye target client to enroll 5 clients at $2,000. And then now you're sold out. Now later you can raise your price. And I talk about that in the book, how to do that from $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, all the way up to $10,000. I have clients who charge $30,000 for their group coaching program. I would say most people end up finding that $5,000 or $10,000 is the sweet spot once you're up and running with your 3rd or 4th cohort. But still, any one of those price points is all premium. And so, I have a client right now who she charges $3,000 for clients to join her program called Bye Bye Morning Sickness. Her name's Marie Griswold. And she's got a program that's specifically focused on if you're in the early stages of pregnancy and you have debilitating pregnancy nausea, then she can help you eliminate that and get relief. Right. And so she's got a minimum of 10 clients a month signing up for that offer. Right. And so it's there's, whether you help people become healthier, wealthier, or happier and improve their relationships, there's so many problems out there where people need a guide. And a group coaching program is honestly just the best way to deliver that.
Well, John, I want to thank you so much. This was amazing. As always, I appreciate you. Everyone, grab a copy of the book. Super inexpensive way to learn the entire process, all broken down for you. And I know the time and energy that goes into it. So definitely do that. And John, any last words you'd like to leave people with before we wrap up and call it a day?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'd love to share a resource if I could. Can I share a resource that might be useful for people? Okay. So the book is great. I highly recommend you read the book, as Scott said, and you get a copy. But I also know that if you're thinking, you're like, okay, I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure about this whole group coaching thing. I thought of you. I thought of you because I was putting myself in your shoes. And I thought by the end of this call, if I'm like, okay, this was interesting, I don't know. But I just want to encourage you, if you go to soldoutquiz.com, answer 5 questions. It'll take you 60 seconds or 1 minute. And you get an instant score from me on how ready your business is to have a sold out group coaching program. And if you're missing anything of what it would take to earn $10,000 per month, group coaching 90 minutes per week, you'll get that instruction right there. So you go to soldoutquiz.com, you answer 5 questions, you get an immediate report, green, yellow, red, on if you're ready to get sold out. And you get a personalized action plan on that page. So I think the reality is yes, read the book. But before you read the book, you can also just do this. This is kind of gives you I don't think I'm allowed to say cliff notes. I think that's trademarked, but you get the Mies Notes version there, of a kind of a bridge crash course in what you need to know to get sold out. And I hope you find it useful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. We appreciate you. And, I can't wait to keep working with you and, keep, becoming a sold out coach.
Let's do it. Keep up the good work.